Hey everyone, welcome to the Zia Wool Studio Buzz podcast. My name is Doc and I am coming to you from Albuquerque in the beautiful desert of New Mexico. This is a podcast about knitting and spinning and yarn, mainly, and sometimes with a little bit of excursion into different other fiber arts. First of all, I wanted to thank you for watching. Goodness. I was thinking this morning as I was preparing myself and all the things, all the woolly things, I was thinking how nice it is to know that you are out there, you're interested to see what I've been up to, and that you're giving me a reason to style my hair and kind of put on jewelry and pretending I am very social, which nobody is these days, right? So thank you for that. Where to begin? Yes, I am wearing my true friend, and I apologize. I shouldn't have this not so fitting shirt under it, but you will see soon why I'm wearing a shirt. Yes, but the sweater. This is my true friend. I've told you everything about this in previous episode, but 2 days ago I finally wove in the ends. I gave it a good wash at night and a spin in my front loader washing machine, and I laid it out to dry, and I hadn't touched it until just an hour ago, and I have to tell you, I could not be more pleased with just about everything about the sweater. I made it to get gauge. I went one needle size up, and the yarn I used, what I held double with a lace yarn. So I used a merino viscose, a wool viscose silk blend, and held it with a merino silk lace yarn. And I told you everything about it in previous episodes. You probably know. And so I used 4mm needles, and I decided, even though I did have plenty of yarn to make long sleeves, I thought, nah, this is going to be fine because it's not really a very warm sweater. It's loose and airy, and also it has the open neckline, which I love, by the way. And so I thought I'm going to stick with what Vera Välimäki, the fabulous designer, recommends, and make 3/4 sleeves. However, my sleeves are a little bit longer, I believe, than what she gives in the pattern. There is one more change that I made, which I was inspired to do by a German podcaster. And when I first finished the sweater, because you may remember this is my second go, I finished the stripy section and I had to rip back because I miscounted somewhere, and so my side seams didn't line up. And I did initially the 3-needle bind off as is given in the pattern, but inspired by the German podcaster, I grafted the sides so I don't have a seam on the side at all, which I find absolutely fabulous because it blends from the front into the back, and it's just great. So this is very me. It's a loosey-goosey. You have the tight sleeves, which I think is very flattering in combination with a wide garment. And it's kind of like a V shape, which I think is really great because you have the ribbing that kind of sits on the hips. And it's just great. And I hope you can see this if I just scooch down ever so slightly. I did something that I may have mentioned in the last podcast. It's that I embroidered a little flower on the back because I wanted something to instantly help me identify what the back is. And I think that's turned out great and it's really cute. So let me take off the sweater so I can show you something else that I finished in the meantime. Hold on. Let me finish off the True Friend by showing you the little flower in the back, center upper back. Love it. Perfect. I used just the lace yarn of the brown. And what am I wearing? It's the little cardigan that I made. And I've been promising you a pattern for this, and I have started writing this up finally. I'm thinking I will do 4 sizes. I hope. I mean, I'm not a prolific garment design writer, so it's a journey that I have just begun, and so I will I apologize to those if I don't include your size. It is not my intention to exclude anybody. It's more blame it on my inability to be a very good pattern writer at this point. I hope you will still like this. And so I showed you last time, the 2 cardigans that I've made a few years back and that I wanted to recreate with the yarn that I pulled out of my stash, and it has happened, and it has happened fast because you actually do knit this up with 8mm needles. It's just fantastic. So the ribbing, you start off with the neckline with the ribbing with 7mm needles, then you switch to 8mm because you hold the yarn double. It's a cotton and a rayon or something, a blend where you have matte and shiny sections alternating and very random color changes, which makes this super random effect of color mixing in the cardigan. And I wanted to show you how long it is. It's just really perfect. And the way I worked it is I determined the length that I thought was good for me, and then whatever I had left in yarn I used for my sleeves, and I had 2 balls that I thought were identical, but they were not. So I feel like I'm cutting off my head. I have to correct this. Here we go. That's better. Okay, so I had 2 partial balls of yarn left for the 2 sleeves, and when I knitted on the cardigan, I noticed that that when I held the 2 balls together, which I started, of course, at the same time, when they ended, it was like maybe a yard of a difference at max. But then on the sleeves, so I finished one sleeve and I used up that one of those 2 partial balls. I used 1 thread from the outside and 1 from the inside, and then I knitted as long as I could. It's a short sleeve, and that's fine. But then for the other side, I was missing yarn for maybe 3 rows plus cast off. And so what I did was I actually went through my bin that I have where it says commercial yarn leftovers, and I found the yarn from the cardigans that I had made in the past, and I'm talking about a European company yarn, Lana Grossa, and this specific yarn is called Allegra, and I'm using it. This one was, by the way, color 01. So I found leftovers from both other cardigans, but then I realized one of them had a lot of white, so I used a teensy weensy bit of the that I had from the other colorway, which was similar enough to work for it, because if you look at the sleeves you can't tell. And but also what I did was I used one of the original color, I used that yarn till the end and held it with that other leftover color from the other cardigan. So, and which also did not work out till the very end. So I think I had like 20 stitches to cast off still with more of another color, but whatever. I made it work, and it's great, and it has a wonderful it's just a great garment for our climate and for what I really actually will use a lot. I wouldn't have minded having more yarn. I would have done the sleeves probably 3/4, but I know this is also going to be fine. Doesn't matter. Yes, finished. Oh yes, and one more thing. A few more things that I wanted to tell you about this. So my edge is done in a way where I always slip the last stitch with the yarn in the front and then knit the first stitch through the back loop, and then I have on the right side, what you see is a knit stitch and a purl stitch. And you may remember from my cardigans that I showed you in the last episode that they kind of rolled in the front. So on this one, I thought, I'm going to try and see if blocking doesn't avoid this, because I didn't block the others. It's a yarn that you don't really need to block, I find. So what I did was I laid it flat, I sprayed it with a bit of a moisture, and then I put a moist towel on and did some steam blocking. The downside was that my fabric also was kind of flattened where I did that, and I didn't want to do the whole thing, so I just did it at the front edge. And then I shook it quite a bit to fix that, because I didn't want to. I like the original loosey-goosey fabric better. I mean, it's not a loosey-goosey. I shouldn't say that, because I'm not a fan of loosey-goosey fabrics. It just has a nice drape. So I started this on my son's birthday on May 13th, late in the evening. And then I had this done in 6 days, ends woven in. So, sorry. So this is a fast knit, I'm telling you. Yep. And like I said, pattern will come, and I know some of you have loved the other one that I made with a fuzzy yarn, which actually I think was probably skinnier needles, but whatever. Okay, that was this cardigan. I have another garment that I wanted to show you, because it's really, I have a plan, and I really want for you to see how this works out for me from the whole process. And the thing is that I found in a closet a shirt that I made several years ago, which never really, it was just wrong. Something about the design was wrong. I didn't like wearing it. I never wore it, but then I pulled it out and I thought, that just needs a little bit of a correction. And I thought, this is the time of the year where in the mornings I want to put on something that's maybe a little more covering than what I wear in the day, which is kind of a sleeveless shirt like this. So I thought, I'm going to fix this and I will put it on now so you can actually see so I can show you better what the problems are and what I intend to do with it. Okay, here we go. This is a yarn that is probably a cotton linen blend. And I was very much attracted by the random color changes. And also I thought, that's a thin yarn. I could probably wear it kind of like late spring, early springish, fallish times. And I had an idea of a certain design that in mind when I started knitting this. Now I am so much smarter because a few things went wrong with this, but let me show you the whole thing at first. Start off with that. So you can already see one thing that bugs me, and it's that it has a side seam, which I shouldn't have done. I should have knitted it in the round and then just split the garment at the sleeve opening. And here already you see the next mistake that I made. My sleeve opening was ginormous, and I think that's maybe even why I added these weird little sleeves that I don't particularly like, and the sleeve opening is still way too big. However, you can see something that was done intentionally, and that is that it has a drapey front neck. For the life of me, I cannot remember what I looked at to figure out how this is done. But it must have been some kind of maybe I had a shirt, I don't know. So, and the concept in itself did work out. It could use a little more drape, but that's okay. So I increased stitches here where you normally would not. And then I used, I think this is even the side of my knitting. I used that to close the shoulder seam. The back, I think I ended with a straight line, and I will see all this when I deconstruct the shirt, which I'm planning to do, and to do a few changes. But also I found another mistake that I made is that the back, I wish the shoulder seam would sit more like here. So just 2 to 3 inches over. So it actually holds the front in place, because right now it pulls to the sides, you know, and so you don't see this so much. So I will rip back the sleeves, rip back to here, pay attention to what I did here, and especially with this part. and then figure out the smaller sleeve opening, and also to make the neck opening, reduce it in the back. So I'm going to come together in the back when I go apart in the front to create that drapey front neckline. Very excited about this, because really this is the time of the year where I thought, this would be a nice piece of garment to have, especially in the mornings. And I have noticed a lot of times when I have knitted myself things for this, for the warmer season, I never wore them, but I believe that this one might be something that I actually would wear. So stay tuned. I will keep you posted. I had to change back out of that thing because there's too much wrong with it to continue wearing it. But so here I am again. I have brought also something else that I did because I was at the sewing machine and I was making a few masks, but I also found, oh yeah, and I made a bag for a friend, a zippered bag, but I also found this bag which was already pre-cut and the handle was already assembled. And the way I like to do that is with a velvet ribbon. And this was a fabric that was gifted to me by my friend Doris, who knows how much I love sheep. And so she always, whenever she finds some sheep fabric somewhere, she gets me some, which is just so sweet and thoughtful. And it's kind of a linen-y texture. Maybe it's a linen blend, I'm not sure. So on the back, I use something similar. And the inside, as always, some flannel, which is just anything colorful that I use. So I haven't put anything in it. I haven't decided yet. And the other thing that I kept working on that I showed you a little while ago was my rug hooking project. I told you that I was dreaming of finishing it for my son's birthday because it was after a design or after a painting that my son had made in 7th grade. But I mean, you probably already shook your head when you heard me say that. It would be nice to get that done because there was no way I was going to finish that, because I also love to knit, and I also love to dye, and I also love to spin, and I also love to sew. So I do all the things, and I do not only always do rug hooking. So, but I thought I'd bring it to show you that I have indeed worked a little bit on it. And this is where I am right now. I hope you can see it because I can't see what I'm showing you. Yeah, I really like it. I had to make a correction here. I talked about this a little more in the German podcast because in Germany, nobody knows rug hooking. So I have to go into detail a little bit more. But you probably all have heard about it, about this wonderful technique, art form. And so it's one of the funny things is sometimes you just get carried away and you hook and you hook and you hook, and then you're like, you take it off the frame and then you see, oh, I messed up. So one mess up here was that this sleeve had a dark green border here but not here, and I already ripped that back. One other thing that I added was this dark vein. I started working on it. That goes all the way through the picture and did go through the painting, the original, and which I love. I changed it. I worked on it in a class and did it with yarn, and I thought, no, this thing is going to go on the floor. That's not going to last. I need wool fabric. So I changed that. And I also wanted to mention, if you like rug hooking and you get a chance ever to take, I mean, of course, I love my Kathy, my local rug hooking teacher. She's just awesome. And she's my soul sister. And she taught me 95% of what I know, I would say. But I also had the chance, when our guild organized that, to work with an amazing teacher from California. Her name is Cheryl Bollenbach, and she was the one who helped me with this flower, which I think is really beautiful. I was a new rug hooker, and I sure could fill in spaces, but I would have had the hardest time doing something like this as well as the bird. So if you like rug hooking and you ever get the chance to take a class with her, she's awesome and very well remembered. And I still have some of the noodles, which is a mix of the wool strips that she brought me to use in this, and which was a gift from her, which I thought very nice. Yeah, that's my rug. And now back to knitting. So I finished this in 6 days. I think I told you that. But then also I continued to work on the Damien shawl. Yes, I made crazy progress. I was here last time. I added about 1 inch or 2. Yeah. This was just, I was obsessing over this cardigan last week. The Damien shawl lives in this bag, and I'm making it with Zia Wool's Santa Fe, which is a 50-50 merino silk blend. And this will be for my mom. Don't know when she's gonna get it, but she will. Then I finally started the shawl that I've been talking about, which is A Mother's Prayer, designed by Debbie Reese of the Periscoping Sisters. And I already showed you the yarns that I plan to use. This is a Zia Wool's one of a kind, I think, or it's fresh. I just can't remember. I didn't make a label because I knew I was gonna have it. But this one is the Winslow Knitting Retreat colorway. I lost my heart in Winslow. And the mystery knit along ended. I'm late to the party, but who cares? And so I started last night, and this is where I am. I hope I'm not spoiling anything for anybody, because if you did the mystery knit along, you're long done, right? And everybody else who wants to make this probably will like to be inspired, hopefully, by what I show. So this is a seed stitch section right now, and I will use, there is something that's going to come that's a little more lacy, where I'm going to use the light blue. I already made a mistake somewhere, so I had to fudge and add a stitch. And what else was I going to say? 3.5 millimeter needles. This is the last needle I have. I mean, I hate having such a long one, but whatever, it is what it is. The thing will grow anyways. So this is where I am, and of course it is in one of Debbie's bags since she designed it. And I'm really impressed because I'm not too much a fan of round shawls that have the weird wavy thing in the center. And Debbie worked hard, as she told me, to get somewhere where you avoid having this. And it really looks great. She did, the way I did the garter tab beginning is really different from what I've ever done. So that was a nice and interesting new thing to do. Yep. Love the colors, love the pattern. Will continuously love working on this. It's just the right amount of concentration where I feel like, okay, I can do this. Because I can't do everything these days. There's limits. The marvelous, not happening right now. As I realized, the 2-color brioche section. Okay, that was this, and then I have another thing. I'm in this small group of knitters where we started an Isabel Kramer knit along, and I decided to make the El Grande Favorito by Isabel Kramer, which is a pattern where you do not use sport weight yarn, as I thought, because you're using fat needles, which means you're using sport weight yarn held double. I did not read this correctly. Long story short, I needed, in addition to the 2 yarns that I plan to use, I needed a 3rd one, and I am ready now to cast this baby on. I couldn't be more excited about the color combination. Within the last week, I got in the delivery of the Bear Sori silk blend, which is this fuzzy stuff. As you may remember, I don't do mohair. It itches me, so I wanted something soft, and I decided on this. I just love this. I love the color. I love the feel. I love how it dyed as well. It's really a wonderful yarn, and I will show you later the first skeins that I have dyed that will go in the shop. And yes, so I will start working on this very, very shortly. I can't wait to cast the sweater on. What else? Told you hooking, sewing, knitting, now on to spinning. I continued spinning up this bump, which is a blend from Maggie's, wait a second, Maggie's Farm ink. And it was a big bump, so I'm almost done spinning this up. In fact, I filled up 1 bobbin this morning, which is this one. And it was half full. I didn't do the whole one. And now I put the other one that was half full on my wheel, and I will fill that up with this, but this is probably going to be more than fits on the bobbin. And then I will ply, because that's what I'm doing. It's a 2-ply yarn, and 2 skeins are done, and I love them. I love the blobs of green and pink in there. And I know I didn't want to do a super thin yarn, but now I'm actually almost heavier than I thought I would be. One of them has 95 grams and 180 yards, and the other one has 88 grams and 205 yards. So there's a difference in yardage. So less weight, more yardage, more weight, less yardage. But I don't honestly think that it's really going to matter. I think they're going to be close enough in weight to use in the same project. What is next? Oh my goodness, I was so excited, my friends, when Mr. the Fabulous Alan Berry got in touch with me, and because I had seen one of his supported spindles on Instagram, and I thought, oh, I have to have one. So I had contacted him, and then he got back to me and said, I'm ready to make your spindle now, and what do you want on it? Oh no, I had already written him what I would like on it, or different options. I knew I was going to want a Zia because it's just, I love New Mexico so much. Zia is the symbol on the New Mexican flag, and so it has to be a Zia, as I incorporated in my yarn company name for the love of New Mexico. And so the my spindle, I for sure a Zia, but also I was thinking, oh, what else? I had different options, like a bee, because I love my beekeeper yarn series, a butterfly, because butterflies always remind me of my dad, a hummingbird, because that's very New Mexican and I love the hummingbirds, or the manatee, which my family decided is my spirit animal. This always makes me laugh so much because I feel like, yes, it's true. That's how they are, the manatees. They are just slowly floating in the water. They're very curious. They're social. They're just very slow. That's me. Really. Yeah. So those were the ideas, and then he sent me a design of a bee, and when I saw it I thought, wow, it's super amazing, but I realized then that it's not really me after all. It wasn't New Mexican enough also. So I thought about it and thought about it and thought, hey, a snake, a rattlesnake. I mean, not that I love rattlesnakes per se, but I'm so fascinated by them. So that's what it was. And the design he came up with is absolutely stunning. Let me show you. I'm going to come closer. Oh my gosh. Here's my spindle. Oh, I should turn it this way. He is such an artist. I mean, that's all I told him. I told him rattlesnake and Zia symbol. That's what he came up with. Absolutely wonderful. And I have to say that he doesn't use power tools, but he uses vintage hand tools. It's just great. Yep. So here's another thing. So I told you that I'm still learning the rug hooking, certain techniques, but this also is definitely a lot to learn for me. My friend Carrie got in touch and said, "Oh yes, it's not going to be too hard for you because you're good at long draw." And of course, she had a point. And but also Sherry is the one where I saw the supported spindle. But so she's another one of the people that I can get in touch with if I do need help. I've already been watching a lot of videos on YouTube and I've been practicing. I do have a dish. I purchased the dish that comes with it. It has leather on the bottom and it works great. And I don't want to spin it now because I don't want it to fall and break. So yeah, I have gathered my supplies in style in this gorgeous vintage German bowl, which was probably made in a similar way as my spindle. And I custom carded the my Rolex I pulled them off the drum carder. Yeah. So now I just gotta practice. Exciting. It's always good to learn something new. I'm sure you agree. It keeps our minds fresh. So this was all the knitting and spinning. Last but not least, a little bit of shop news. I brought what I will add to the shop in the next days, but also maybe you've seen that big ugly box back there, which is actually the box that holds Bear, Sandia, and Taos yarns, which I ran out of, and thankfully my supplier still works and they shipped it really fairly quickly. So I will be starting to dye up more sock skeins soon. I'm kind of itching to do more of the beekeeper in the woods, and I'm also thinking if that is what you might be interested in, I'm thinking about doing the maybe the mini sets again, all the beekeepers in a set with mini skeins, 10 gram skeins or so. I don't know. That's always something fun. And I never get tired of dyeing the beekeepers. I still have, I will keep the sale going until the end of May, where all the yarns are drastically marked down. But I'm thinking that starting in June, I will start increasing the prices, but do it maybe gradually because, as we all know, I mean, people charge fees. So like Etsy gets a good chunk of what I sell, and so I just need to, adjust ever so. Yeah, just adjust slowly. You know how it is. So, but back to the yarns. So this is the Sori silk lace. It's a 50 gram skein, but each 50 grams have, I think, 345 yards, which is great. So you have this pale blue, and also with dark spots. I hope you can see that. Then expect these in the shop, by the way, in probably tomorrow evening or so. I'm going to make an announcement on Etsy again. So this is another new one, which is called Crazy Fool on Sundancer, and I have 4 of these. There will be 4 of these going in the shop. And then there is, so that was on Sundancer, did I say that? And the other one is also a new colorway on Dreamcatcher. 4 of these will go in the shop. And this one is called Hungry Heart. Okay, and that is everything for today. Thank you for so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for your comments. I always love to hear from you, and I would love for you to friend me on Ravelry. I am Paper Dag there, and I always love to see what my friends are up to. I live in my friends' activity feed when I go on Ravelry. And I hope that this finds you well and that you have a good time until I see you again. Happy knitting. Bye.